The coat weighs 11 pounds. You feel every ounce on your shoulders as you step out of the limousine. March 8th, 1971, Madison Square Garden. Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. The fight of the century. And you, Frank Lucas, are about to make the biggest mistake of your life. Your wife Julie bought you this chinchilla coat for $125,000. The matching hat cost another $40,000. You sit in seats better than Frank Sinatra, better than Diana Ross, better than Vice President Spiro Agnew. You came to see a boxing match, but every detective in that arena is now watching you. Tomorrow morning, you become a marked man. But let us rewind. Let us go back to a 6-year-old boy in LaGrange, North Carolina. 1936. You are standing in your front yard when 5 men in white hoods drag your 12-year-old cousin Obadiah from his house. They tie him to a post. They accuse him of looking at a white woman. You watch them end his life. You are 6 years old. Something inside you breaks that night. Something that will never heal. Your family is poor. Deep South poor. Great Depression poor. Your father works himself to exhaustion just to keep food on the table. You learn early that the rules of America do not apply equally to everyone. The law that was supposed to protect your cousin instead looked the other way. Justice, you decide, is a word for people with money. By the time you are a teenager, you are already stealing. Small stuff at first. Shoplifting, mugging drunks outside the local tavern. Then you get a job as a truck driver at a pipe company. You start an affair with your boss's daughter. When he finds out, you beat him unconscious with a pipe, steal $400 from the safe, and set the building on fire. Your mother begs you to run. She knows what happens to black men who assault white men in the South. In 1946, at 16 years old, you board a Greyhound bus heading north. You arrive at 50th Street and 8th Avenue in New York City, transfer to another bus, and ride it straight into Harlem. This is supposed to be the promised land, the place where a black man can make something of himself. But you are penniless, homeless, and hungry. So you do what you know. You rob. You steal. You hustle pool. You hit people over the head and take their money. It is brutal, ugly work, but it keeps you alive. Then one day, everything changes. You walk into a pool hall called Metton's on 118th Street. A man named Ice Pick Red is there, flush with cash, looking for challengers at $1,000 a game. You approach him with $3 in your pocket and a mouthful of confidence. Red is about to destroy you when another man walks in. Short, maybe 5'9", 160 pounds. Wearing an expensive dark blue suit with a red tie and red lapel. The entire room goes silent. This is Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, the most powerful black gangster in Harlem history. He controls the numbers rackets, the extortion, the gambling. He has survived wars with Dutch Schultz and the Italian Mafia. And for some reason, he takes an interest in you. Bumpy becomes your mentor. You drive him wherever he needs to go. You watch him negotiate. You watch him command respect without raising his voice. You watch him give money to the poor, pay for funerals, sponsor kids in the neighborhood. Bumpy is a gangster, yes, but he is also loved. He understands something you are still learning. Power is about more than violence. It is about perception. For nearly 13 years, you serve as his right-hand man. You learn the business from the inside out. You learn who pays who. You learn where the money flows. You learn the weaknesses of the Italian Mafia, how they control the heroin trade in New York, how they charge enormous markups because they are the only suppliers. In July of 1968, Bumpy Johnson dies of a heart attack at Wells Restaurant on Lenox Avenue. He was eating coffee and grits. One moment, the king of Harlem. The next, just another body. You do not mourn for long. In the chaos that follows Bumpy's death, there is a power vacuum. The Italians think they can move in. The smaller dealers fight over scraps. But you have a plan you have been thinking about for years. You are not going to fight for crumbs. You are going to build something entirely new. Days after Bumpy's funeral, you board a plane to Bangkok. The Mafia controls heroin in New York because they control the supply. They buy from the French Connection, middlemen who ship product from Turkey through Marseille. By the time it reaches the street, the heroin has been cut and diluted multiple times. 5% purity, maybe 3. and the Italians charge $50,000 per kilogram. You are about to change everything. In Bangkok, you find a bar called Jack's American Star Bar. It is a hangout for Black American soldiers during the Vietnam War. There, you meet Leslie Ike Atkinson, a former Army Master Sergeant from Goldsboro, North Carolina. Married to one of your cousins, Ike knows everyone in Southeast Asia. Every cook, every supply officer, every man with connections. Together, you travel upcountry, deep into the jungle, into the Golden Triangle, where the borders of Thailand, Burma, and Laos converge. This is where the poppy fields grow. This is where the raw opium is processed into heroin in mountain caves. You meet a Chinese Thai supplier named Luechi Rubiwat. He controls hundreds of acres of poppy fields. You buy 132 kilograms of heroin, pure, 98%. The cost? $4,200 per kilogram. Compare that to the $50,000 the mafia charges. You have just cut out every middleman on the planet. Now comes the hard part. How do you get it back to America? This is where the legend gets murky. You claim you hired a carpenter from North Carolina to fly to Bangkok and build fake military coffins with hidden compartments. The drugs, you say, traveled inside the coffins of American soldiers returning from Vietnam. Who would ever search a dead hero? Your associate Ike Atkinson later denied this story. He said the heroin was smuggled inside hollowed-out furniture, not coffins. DEA agents who investigated you said they found no evidence of the coffin story. Maybe it was true once. Maybe it was an exaggeration. Maybe it was a myth you created to enhance your own legend. Regardless, the heroin made it to America. That much is undeniable. Back in Harlem, you set up shop. You call your product Blue Magic. You stamp the envelopes with blue dye so customers know they are getting the real thing. Your heroin is 10 to 12% pure when it hits the street. Your competitors are selling product at 3 to 5%. Junkies flock to Blue Magic like moths to a flame. It is stronger. It is cheaper. It is everywhere. You bring your 5 younger brothers up from North Carolina. You call them the country boys. City boys, you believe, are unreliable. They talk too much. They steal. They get seduced by the fast life. But country boys? Country boys are loyal. Country boys follow instructions. Country boys keep their mouths shut. Your brothers control the major intersections. 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, 116th Street. You employ women to cut and package the heroin. They work in apartments throughout Harlem, wearing only plastic gloves so they cannot steal product. The money begins to flow. At your peak, you claim to be making $1 million a day. This number is almost certainly an exaggeration, but even the conservatives' estimates suggest you were pulling in hundreds of thousands weekly. You launder the money through banks in the Cayman Islands. You buy apartments in Miami, Los Angeles, and Detroit. You buy office buildings. You buy a cattle ranch in North Carolina with 300 head of Black Angus and a breeding bull worth $125,000. You rub shoulders with celebrities. You meet Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Diana Ross, Howard Hughes. You attend the best clubs in Harlem. You live the life that poverty told you was impossible. But there is a dark side to Blue Magic. The heroin epidemic devastates Harlem. Overdoses skyrocket. Neighborhoods that were already struggling become open-air drug markets. Families are destroyed. Children watch their parents disappear into addiction. Years later, prosecutor Richie Roberts will say something that haunts you. Frank Lucas has probably destroyed more black lives than the Ku Klux Klan could ever dream of. You tell yourself it is just business. You tell yourself that if you did not sell it, someone else would. You tell yourself that you are helping your family, your community, your people. But the streets of Harlem tell a different story. The needles in the gutters, the bodies in the alleys, the hollow eyes of the addicted. Meanwhile, you are getting careless. That night at Madison Square Garden, March 8, 1971. The chinchilla coat. The front row seats. You came to watch Ali and Frazier make history. Instead, you made yourself the center of attention. Detectives in the crowd start asking questions. Who is that man in the fur coat? How does he have better seats than the vice president? The DEA knew about Blue Magic. They just did not know who was behind it. Now they do. A task force is assembled. DEA agents from Group 22, NYPD detectives from the Organized Crime Control Bureau. They tap your phones. They follow your associates. They watch your movements. You switch phones every week. You communicate through messengers. You never touch the product yourself. But they are patient, and they are thorough. On January 28, 1975, 20 federal agents and police officers surround your home in Teaneck, New Jersey. They kick down the door. Your wife, Julie, panics and throws suitcases full of cash out the bathroom window. When the raid is over, authorities find $584,000 in cash and keys to your Cayman Islands safe deposit boxes. You are arrested. But the agents find no drugs in your house, nothing directly tying you to blue magic. Then your nephew cracks. Under interrogation, he gives up names, locations, phone numbers. The entire network unravels. 43 more people are charged. You are convicted of federal and state drug violations. The sentence: 70 years in prison. You are 45 years old. 70 years means you will die behind bars. But you are a survivor. You have always been a survivor, and you see one final opportunity. You become an informant. This is not a decision you make lightly. You understand what it means. In the world you built, in the code you lived by, there is no sin greater than this. A snitch is lower than a rat. Lower than the junkies who bought your product. Lower than the cops who took your bribes. A snitch is nothing. But 70 years is a long time to hold on to your pride. You give up everyone. You sit in rooms with federal prosecutors and you talk. For hours, for days, for weeks. You draw diagrams. You name names. Drug dealers who trusted you. Corrupt cops who protected you. Your own family members. Your brothers. Your cousins. Men who would have taken a bullet for you, including Ike Atkinson. The man who helped you build your empire. The man who connected you to the Golden Triangle. The man who was married to your cousin. You give him up too. He will spend years in federal prison because of your testimony. Your information leads to over 100 convictions. 100 people whose lives are destroyed because you chose freedom over loyalty. The prosecutors are delighted. You are their golden goose. Every name you give them is another case closed, another headline for the newspapers. Your sentence is reduced from 70 years to time served plus lifetime parole. You serve 5 years. 5 years. For an empire that flooded the East Coast with poison. 5 years for the lives destroyed, the families shattered, the community ravaged. In 1981, you walk out of prison a free man. But what does freedom mean when everyone you knew either hates you or fears you? The streets call you a snitch. Your former associates spit when they hear your name. The country boys, your brothers, the men you brought up from North Carolina to build your empire, they look at you differently now. Some of them went to prison because of your testimony. Blood does not always forgive. You move back to New Jersey. You try to live quietly. You have nothing. The government seized everything. The apartments in Miami and Los Angeles, the office buildings in Detroit, the ranch in North Carolina with the Black Angus cattle, the Cayman Islands accounts, all of it, gone. You are 51 years old, and you are starting from zero. And here is the thing about addiction. It does not only apply to drugs. Some men are addicted to alcohol, some to women, some to gambling. You? You are addicted to the game, to the hustle, to the feeling of being somebody. In 1984, just 3 years after your release, you are caught again. 1 ounce of heroin, $13,000 in cash. You were trying to exchange them for a kilogram of cocaine. Same game, smaller stakes. But the same hunger that drove you to Bangkok, to the Golden Triangle, to the top of the Harlem drug trade. You cannot help yourself. The judge shows no mercy. 7 more years. You go back to prison. You serve your time. You are released in 1991. You are 61 years old. And here comes the strangest twist in a life full of strange twists. Richie Roberts, the prosecutor who helped put you away, becomes your defense attorney. The man who built the case against you, who sat across from you in interrogation rooms, who called you a destroyer of communities, he now represents you in court. He helps you navigate the legal system. He becomes your friend. Later, he becomes the godfather to your youngest son. How do you explain this? The hunter and the hunted, bound together. Perhaps Robert saw something in you that others did not. Perhaps he understood that the line between lawman and criminal is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Perhaps you were both just survivors, doing what you had to do, and in the end, that created a strange kind of respect. In 2007, director Ridley Scott releases American Gangster. Denzel Washington plays you. Russell Crowe plays Roberts. The film earns $300 million worldwide and receives 2 Academy Award nominations. You attend the set. You advise Washington on how to carry his gun, how to walk, how to wear the clothes. You see yourself transformed into myth, your life turned into entertainment for millions. But the movie takes liberties. Federal Judge Sterling Johnson, who was the special narcotics prosecutor during your trial, calls the film 1% reality and 99% Hollywood. He describes the real Frank Lucas as illiterate, vicious, violent, and everything Denzel Washington was not. The coffin story, DEA agents say it is fiction. The claim that you brought down 3/4 of the New York Drug Enforcement Agency through your testimony. Investigators say you never named a single dirty agent, just other drug dealers. The legend you spent your life building was always partly performance. In your final years, you give interviews. You express regret. You tell reporters that heroin was the worst business you could get into. You say you probably did more damage than good. You return to Harlem and see what the drugs have done to the community. The poverty that was there when you arrived has only deepened. The addiction you fed has spawned generations of addicts. The hollow eyes you saw on the street corners in the 70s now belong to the children and grandchildren of your original customers. You say all the right things, that you were wrong, that you wish you could take it back, that the money was not worth it. But the words feel hollow, even to you, because you cannot take it back. Not the lives lost, not the families destroyed, not the community you helped poison. Then comes the final indignity. In 2012, you are arrested again. Not for drugs this time. Not for violence. Not for anything that would fit the legend of the American gangster. You tried to cash a $17,000 federal disability check twice. Let that sink in. The man who once claimed to make $1 million a day. The man who outsmarted the Italian mafia. The man who built a heroin empire spanning continents. The man who wore a $125,000 chinchilla coat to the fight of the century. That man is now 82 years old, confined to a wheelchair after a car accident, and he is trying to defraud the government of $17,000. This is not the ending of a gangster movie. This is the ending of a life. The slow, ugly, undignified decline that no one wants to talk about. The chinchilla coat is long gone. The celebrities are long gone. The empire is dust. And you are sitting in a courtroom, being sentenced to 5 years of probation for check fraud. $17,000. There is something almost Greek about it. The hubris of the rise, the inevitability of the fall. The king reduced to begging for scraps. You wanted to be Donald Trump rich. You said those words yourself. And for a few years, in your own way, you were. But empires do not last. They never do. On May 30th, 2019, Frank Lucas dies of natural causes in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. You are 88 years old. You are survived by 7 children. The empire you built is long gone. The money seized, the properties taken. The legend, like so much of your life, a mixture of truth and fiction that will never fully untangle. You outsmarted the mafia. You built something they said a black man could never build. You sat in better seats than Frank Sinatra. And in the end, you died in obscurity, in a wheelchair, in New Jersey with nothing but your stories and your regrets. The chinchilla coat cost $125,000. The real cost was something you never counted. If you listened all the way through, let me know what you thought in the comments. Your feedback means a lot. Don't forget to like, subscribe for more content like this, and check out the next video on your screen. Big hug, and see you next time.